Welcome to SwitchCorner, my name is Alex and today we're taking a look at Jumanji The Curse Returns on the Nintendo Switch. The second Jumanji game now to grace the console, but can it do a better job of reflecting the movies of the same name? Well, hit subscribe, join us here on SwitchCorner for reviews and deals near daily, and let's get started. It's a story, and I wouldn't normally include this section for a game that doesn't contain one, but that's a real big miss on the game's part. You know, setting up a Jumanji-centric story, it wouldn't have been a difficult thing, but all we are greeted with here is basically a few still images showing a few somewhat destroyed locations, warning you, once you start the game, you must finish and reach the center to shout out Jumanji and put an end to the disaster. Nothing more, it's to the main menu we go where we jump straight into gameplay. Gameplay then under this already did see a release over on Steam as well as iOS and Android. That said, yes, it is cheaper on other platforms, but this brings together all content which were previously DLC. That's going to be a second winter themed board as well as a couple of extra playable characters and game pieces. Gameplay though is a combination of very basic board game and then co-op deck-based combat. Weirdly, it supports 4 players online but only 2 local players. They must then work together with 2 AI-controlled friendlies. I presume that limitation is just due to the nature of card deck building. You know, it's a smaller deck display at the bottom of the screen and it would not work with a 4-way split, but to me that still seems like a strange decision. On loading into the game though, you'll choose from one of 8 playable characters and 9 game pieces. They seem to have little ties to the movies that I know of, at least outside of Alan being a playable character who somewhat has a resemblance in the dress sense. These characters and pieces though, they seem to have no effect on the gameplay in the sense that there's no change to the board, no change to the deck you receive, which you think would have been a good little spin on things. Different characters have a different skill set. The board game element though, it's nothing more than rolling the dice to get that next movement position before receiving a cryptic clue at the center of the board that is per the original movie setup. Now, while I'd say 90% of the time this will throw you into a battle of sorts, you can also be forced to move back to where you started. If you roll a double, that will get you an additional throw, or you may see a curse which removes your magic for 1 turn. That's something we'll get into during combat later in the video. Alongside that then, you can also summon Pelt, the arch Nemesis, out to stop you from destroying Jumanji. The final reward on the board, that is buffers, they can be double stacked. They are upgrade tokens and they can manipulate a few areas, think like extra damage for the remainder of the game. I mean, honestly, there's very little gameplay here, but even the dice throwing, it feels undercooked. The dice are static on screen, you press a button, a canned animation plays, and a random number is generated. I would have preferred an animation where you actually stop the dice yourself, just to feel like you have even a small amount of control. There's really only one way to lose at this game though, and that is, basically when you get thrown into a battle, you'll be protecting one of 5 locations, always the same locations. If you lose the battle though, if they get overrun by Jumanji, that will be game over. These battles though, think anything from defeating 10 bats to stopping a lead monkey or crocodile. The challenge here in these battles, though, it varies very slightly, and it does somewhat vary in strategy, especially dependent on the difficulty you choose. The options here, easy, medium or hard. The higher the difficulty, it seems the bigger the enemy health bar and shorter the timer to complete the challenge. Here's how the battles work though. Across the bottom of the screen you will see your deck. These are one of 2 things, either attack cards or support cards, meaning you can use them on yourself or a teammate. This is not turn-based either, but rather real-time. The factor that actually slows you down though, each card has a value attached, and this is the number of blocks required in the, let's say, action meter above your screen to use them. The only thing you really need to figure out is what weapons are effective against which foe. You'll see a damage indicator on the card, but that's not always the case here. Some animals, they are immune, though I will say no real thought into what that is. For example, a crocodile was heavily impacted by a water pistol, which I just can't get my head around. It seems just, you know, I guess random. Your starting deck, in fact, is completely random as well, so you don't really get any choice in what your build looks like. There's sort of, I guess, strategy here though, and there's a few systems, but nothing complicated. But first, as you attack, there's a red rage meter that builds up under your enemy's health. If this fills, they will attack you, trapping you in vines. This can render you useless, so you will need to use weapons on yourself to free yourself. You can also then support your teammates and throw weapons their way as well. Alongside that then, like if it's just clear X amount of enemy, you can absolutely just blitz them. If there's a leader you need though, you're best attacking support creatures either side of them as well. This is because often that lead can take a good while, and each enemy down, it actually gives you a bonus boost to your timer, and you will absolutely need that on the higher difficulties. Lose a battle though, you lose that area, lose all 5, and again, as I said, that is gonna be game over. I wouldn't worry though about a game over. Literally all of that is a single line of text, no cutscene, nothing else. You lost basically, and the same actually goes for victory as well. You saved Brentford or whatever the winter location was called. After each battle though, then you are awarded coin, and you can use this to buy extra cards from a selection of 3. I suggest though, hold on to your cash as you do progressively see these cards increase in power. You'll start to see things like 2 and 3 times that power meter, think 3 axes instead of 1. It's a relatively limited field of cards though, think tennis racket, water pistol, axe, few others, but you're gonna see all of them in a single game, and that's gonna last you roughly 20 minutes. You will also see, of course, new support cards as well. Binoculars show you expected damage. You can top up your magic. Even there's one that you can add X amount of seconds to the timer. This card is particularly easy to exploit as well. We did find a loop where we had a 15+ second timer, and we just kept on using that on repeat while the other one attacked and supported the team. The magic element of the game, then you have a bar under your health as well. I fill that up and you can get a special attack worth 100 attack points. So you can just kind of top up your own meter and also try and exploit that as well. The only other element really to that gameplay from Pelt, you have something though called a team up attack to get rid of him. And that's again a magic meter fall but across the team. He is nothing more than an irritation. He fires fines at you and your team from the top left of the screen, but he tends to show up around the midway point of the board. Here's the big problem with the game in general. This feels like a demo, if anything. 2 boards, a 20-minute runtime, and no unlocks or real variety at all throughout. By the second game, we were seeing repeats of the cryptic clues and the battles. By the third game, we quickly realised there's only enough minigames in here for what is literally a single playthrough. It feels, if anything, like a proof of concept over anything else. They didn't even attempt to switch up the clues. By our third game, we recognised the process was identical. A few rolls in, you're going to see the same battles, that same clue, so we could instantly just sit there and say, okay, monkeys are coming next. About halfway through, someone has magic removed then someone will be forced to move back, then next, finally, fun Pelt appears. It's actually quite embarrassing how limited the game is. I feel like just, change up the cryptic clues at least. It would have, at least kept us guessing and engaged somewhat to trying to figure them out. Then the controls, you pick a card, you push the left stick towards a friend or enemy. It's surprisingly awkward as it kind of stutters around or you can't quite target who you need to. You're basically though here getting a 20-minute game for your cash where maybe the only real reward is a top brawler and top teammate award at the end of each round. So that's going to be the most damage and the most support. You may want to try out the different difficulties as well. Within 2 hours though, this was uninstalled from my console, and I'd be surprised if that wasn't the case for you as well. The final note on gameplay then, I just don't understand the target audience. Is this adults who will quickly see through the game's incredibly thin amount of content, or a younger audience who will most likely struggle to find the excitement in deck building, even probably struggle to overcome it as well when you do go to that normal or hard setting, it actually can be at times quite unforgiving. Graphically then, it's okay. I do like the board and the pieces, some of the enemy designs even, they're actually pretty good. Outside of that though, it again feels undercooked. Cards are limited and somewhat lazy with what appears to be Microsoft Word art. There's a lack of animations on any of our characters and enemies outside of what I'd call a gentle wobble, like they're a cardboard cutout. And the map showing the 5 locations, intro and completion screen, they're just kind of very basic hand-drawn cartoon-like style, which doesn't really work with everything else that is 3D. I mean, you couldn't even give us like a few unlockable cosmetics or just anything to keep us engaged. Audio then is also minimal, no voice acting at all, which is surprising. They could have at least put the word Jumanji in here, given the fact that is a win condition in the movie. You need to shout Jumanji. Actually, the game says that in the opening moments. And yeah, very little then in the way of enemy sounds or locations. I remember, for example, in the movie, the clue appears, then sounds begin to build up. That's what they needed here. Respect the source. That would have been great fun as well as we were making our guesses to what was coming next. The music, instantly forgettable as well, but it does its job of being, basically background noise. So the final verdict on Jumanji The Curse Returns is essentially, in my opinion, a demo. There's near to no content in here at all, and by the end of the first game you've seen nearly everything it has to offer. You might find one or two more difficulties to check out, but you're going to instantly see the game repeating. By game 3, in fact, you've seen it all. It's going to be time to uninstall. It's such a good license that seems to go to waste in the world of video games, but this could have been a winner if they had put in the work to create more than just a shell. Give us more modes, give us a way to impact our deck, and most of all, give us more clues, more enemy types, different win conditions, and at least some variety at the same time. There is no question as well of this genre, you expect to see repeats eventually, but not by game 2, not by the 20-minute mark. Absolutely embarrassing. I strongly advise against adding this one to the library. I'd hold on to that cash, or at least wait for a massive sale. Today though, it's a bad 3 out of 10 from me. What is here, no question, it works. They just forgot to add the rest of the game, it seems, and instead they gave up once they figured they could fill a 20-minute window at time. There is not a single reason I can think of to play this again after 2 single playthroughs. That was 1 for each board. You don't even get like a basic high score leaderboard maybe, or some cosmetics. I would have taken anything at this point. Just give me something to chase after rather than, start all over again and play the exact same game again. Will you be adding this one to the collection though? Hopefully one day Jumanji will get the game it deserves, but for now, that's 2 Jumanji games on the console you definitely shouldn't play. With that though, like a shout out to the patrons of the channel who are going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. It helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. Then hit subscribe, join us here on SwitchCorner for reviews and deals near daily, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.